Hey everybody, welcome to It's Just Bodybuilding episode 136. Of course, Big Ron Partlow, Dusty Hanshaw, Scott McNally. Like, share, subscribe, comment, and
ring the bell.
Ring the bell. Thanks, Dusty. We're doing straight Q&A today, aren't we?
Absolutely.
We're just going to dive in. Let's see. What's your shirt say, Scott?
This is RTB Gym in Lincoln Park, Michigan. It's one of our listeners actually gave this to me, and it's a great gym. Shout out to Tino. It's a good place. You would like it, Ron. You would like it. It's okay. It was one of the old original powerhouses, and they have dumbbells that go to like 165. So it's always been like one of my favorite places, and then it closed down and Tino took it over. So it's a kind of place where no matter if you've never been there or not, you walk in and you feel like, I'm at home. They got like the metal kick in,
nice.
All the heavy equipment, Strive equipment, all the old hammer strength stuff, like everything from the 90s. You'd love it.
Right.
Good shit.
Very at home.
Yes.
Which speaking of, I went to Butler Pro Gym when I was in Utah for FitCon. And I trained Bronson for years when he would compete, and it was fun to walk in the gym and kind of get the story, because you would appreciate this, Ron. Like it's rooms. There's a room, and then literally a hole in the wall. I mean, obviously large, but another room, and then a third room. And it turns out that he started in just the first room, needed a little more space, went to the second, went to the third. Now he's saying he's going to knock down the walls. I don't know what direction they are, but we'll say, the south wall is going to get pushed down and he can take over some more spaces because he owns that building, but he's got some renters in the other spots. So it's like, seeing it expand, but it's just a hardcore gym. You know what I mean? Like, and you can tell a bodybuilder's there because pieces of equipment that, it's like, this is a brand new whatever. And then right next to it, that's from 1976. It's the best row you can get. You know what I mean? So the only downside was I wasn't scheduled to train. So I literally went in there and tossed an extra shoulder workout just because I was like, well, I have to go train there.
Yeah, for sure. Sometimes that has to be done.
Yeah. But now I feel bad. I told him, I was like, well, I have to come back because this gym needs like a proper workout. Not I'm here at an expo workout.
Yeah. Right, yeah, where I'm going to do rear delts and side delts and one pressing movement and then go home.
Exactly what I did, literally. Just walk through all the laterals and then hit a press. I'm like, all right, we're good.
Yeah. It's funny. I was having a bit of a chuckle to myself about like my own workouts and how they've changed. And, like training to failure and putting in a lot of effort, that just becomes easy.
Right.
After a while. Like, I could go to the gym and literally take 10 working sets to complete failure and think, oh yeah, it's a casual body part day.
Right.
It's just normal, right? So, because of my injuries and things I can't do anymore, I just don't want to put stress on that anymore. My shoulder workouts are a lot of laterals.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like the one day where I feel like I don't really lift any weights. You know what I mean? Like on leg day, I still get into the hacks and we still load up the press and, you move some weights around and, I could still squat if I had to, and then, chest day, we're still dusting off, I'm getting up into the not too bad dumbbell area,
right.
Training partners grabbing the 150s now, that sort of shit. But on shoulder day, it's a lot of there's a lot of 30-pound dumbbells. There's a lot of rear delts. There's a lot of cables. Right. And I just think, oh man, this isn't the shoulder workout it used to be.
I feel it. But what's funny is I found that, so I hired, I don't know when, but I hired John Jewett a while ago. I just told him, I'm like, forget who I am. Write me training. And we did a ton of laterals, like the cuffed laterals around your wrists, so you're not even holding them and stuff like that.
Those too sometimes, yeah.
And man, I like to sometimes I'll walk in the gym and I'll start with 5 sets of those before we even that's the start.
Huh.
And man, so we did with this guy John I'm training with. We did a full workout last week where we went in, started with 5 sets of those, then walked over and did a seated lateral with a partial lateral, then hit 2 variations of rear delts, then a front raise. And I was like, all right, now we'll press. And he's like, what the fuck? And I mean, I was smoked. He was smoked. I mean, you're on the hammer strength shoulder press, only doing 3 plates a side, and it's like a brutal 3 plates a side, you know? So there's something to be said about those laterals. If you do them right. If you do those laterals right, they will smoke your ass.
Yeah. Okay. I got a bunch of questions. You got some from YouTube, Scott?
I've got a bunch. I've got one that I'm curious to know what you guys think. This is from Tino, a different Tino, and he says, how does the Phill Heath Kai Greene rivalry rank in the all-time rivalries? Bear in mind, were it not Phill Heath, Kai would have definitely won the Olympia.
For me,
greatest. Yeah, go ahead, Dusty. You go ahead.
For me, this is the tricky part. Kai, in my opinion, never nailed it when they were head to head. Like if you look at Kai's best, now I know he won when they at the Arnold before, but my immediate thought when I think of rivalry becomes the Olympia. So even though Kai had won the Arnold, every time when I'm going to say this, and it's going to sound terrible from a guy like me, but every time when it mattered, which is the Olympia, Phill dusted him. Like I'm a Kai fan, like he's one of my favorites of all time, and I never felt like Kai was close to beating Phill at the Olympia. So for me on the rivalry stance, I don't rate it. Like when I saw Jay and Ronnie, first Jay beat him in 01. I don't care what anyone says. And then after Ronnie annihilated everyone in 03, it became a matter of time in my head that Jay would pass him because he just kept advancing. And as good as Ronnie was, he was kind of staying. You know what I mean? So for me, I don't rate it nearly as high as I think a lot of people would as a rivalry.
I guess I look at it different. I sort of think about the excitement it brought to the sport or the attention or the number of magazines it may have sold or the buzz it generated or anything like that. So, you know, I understand Dusty's point from like, I never thought Kai beat Phill at the O. I always thought it was clearly Phill. But I was at I think I was at all of those Olympias. I think I was at all of Phill Heath's wins. I think I went to all 8 of those. And the crowd, man, like I you know, sometimes I feel like the crowd is really quiet at shows now, but there were those years when it was Phill and Kai, it was nuts. Like the crowd was going crazy. So I guess maybe I sort of see it that way. I mean, as far as my like recollection of bodybuilding that I've experienced, I feel like Phill and Kai was like maybe the second biggest rivalry after Jay and Ronnie. Right. I don't really feel like Dorian had a rivalry with anybody. It was like Dorian versus everyone. And all these, and everyone sort of took turns placing second. You know, there was Flex Wheeler, there was Levrone, there was Sean Ray. It wasn't one guy. It was like Dorian was like just literally separate.
Yeah. I think it's hysterical the way he worded that because it's so true. They took turns, and it wasn't even that they took turns pushing him. They took turns taking second.
Yeah. Yeah. They took turns taking second.
I know I've said this. Yeah. I know it's off topic, but I have to bring it up for anybody that looks back. I had told Aceto that I thought there were a couple of times that Dorian had lost the Olympia. And he literally looked at me without blinking and said, "You weren't there." Like, in his like, you know, so like when Nasser took second and I was like, I know from the back he lost, but all the other poses, Chris was like, no. Like, yeah, so that's something to factor in for people, especially back then, is that the pictures don't do justice. Even the video doesn't do justice because Chris is definitely someone who will talk bodybuilding with me and we go back and forth on a lot of things. And he shot that idea down as no. So I definitely agree with that.
Okay.
What else we got?
I got
Scott?
one.
Go ahead.
Unless Scott wants to go. Anyone from Patreon? We always want to put those people first.
I don't think I have any Patreon ones this week.
Okay. I got one. How early do you travel to a show to compete? If you're driving, flying, or third option, another country.
Ooh. Well, I don't count Canada as another country, for the record.
Right.
It really
Quick
isn't.
enough.
I should say as a U.S. citizen, because
Right, as a U.S. citizen. Yeah, yeah. I was
I'm
going to say
going to
overseas,
Washington,
maybe, or
you know.
yeah.
So for me, I always like to get there. If the show is Saturday, no matter where it is, I'm there on Wednesday. I like to get there and get settled as a minimum.
That's good.
If I was flying overseas, I would probably fly on a Monday. Just primarily more because I always have a fear of something going wrong as far as getting there.
Right.
And I do like to get there, get settled. I don't have any issue with flying in water. So
No.
water retention is a non-issue for me 100%.
Okay.
And I've never, before I finish the sentence, I've never flown and competed like in Europe. So, and obviously now never will. But so for me, the regular was Wednesday and it was never an issue. I also really like to be home. Like I don't sleep well on the road. Nothing is the same on the road. So for me, the shorter that time period of being away from my routine, the better. So that makes Wednesday easy because truthfully in the US, as an amateur at the pro qualifiers, you weigh in on Thursday. That's why I get there Wednesday.
Yeah.
Pretty simple.
I tell people, if you're just driving a few hours to a show, you can go Friday morning. You know, you can just check into your hotel at noon and get set, or go Thursday evening. If you're flying, I like to go Wednesday or Thursday if you can get there early. I don't mind an early Thursday arrival as long as you've got lots of time to check in, go to the grocery store, go to the gym, take a nice walk, be nice and relaxed, that sort of thing. So you can totally go on Thursday if it's like a short flight. Like, if you're going from Arizona to LA, you can go Thursday, or whatever. But if you're flying overseas or a big trip, like if your show's in Mexico City or something like that, I would arrive like Tuesday for sure. At the, like you said, Monday for a big trip. I would start getting nervous at anything later than that. You don't want anything to go wrong. And you're totally right. I think it's a huge mistake to go too early for a close show. Like some people are like, I don't know, they live in New York and they're competing in Dallas.
Right.
And they think, I got to fly Tuesday to avoid water retention. No, you're just going to spend $1,000 on hotels that you don't need to spend. It's a waste of your fucking time. And you should just stay at home in your zone and go Thursday evening. You'll be totally fine. And the water on the plane thing, I firmly and completely believe that is absolutely avoidable if you just drink a ton of water on the plane. As soon as I just started doing that, all my problems were completely gone. They just became a mythical thing of the past that never ever occurred again. If you drink I think I even had a formula when I was like flying for shows. I'd like a half a liter for every hour you're in the air.
No kidding.
If you're in the air for 2 hours, I would drink 2 liters or a liter at least, keep pissing. Like you have to piss on the plane. Like I know it sucks to get up and piss all the time on the plane, but that's what you want. You want to keep flushing. And as soon as I started doing that, I'd get off the plane with like ankles. Time. But if you sleep, do 4 hours of just sleep for 4 hours on the plane, I'd get off with swollen feet because you didn't drink.
Yeah. No, I was going to add too on the thing of getting there early. I know we all remember when Kai was working with Oscar and they decided to go to the Olympia like weeks early or whatever it was.
Yes. A month in Vegas.
Yeah, that was right. It was a month. Great marketing. I think it fucked him. I think it was the biggest
name
mistake
of the video. The name of the video was Overkill.
Yeah. Like they went down there, they took him completely out of his comfort zone. He's in some seedy hotel. I mean, everything about it was they probably had the doors on the outside of the building of that.
Yeah, they're in
place.
A motel using like a little microwave with like fucking, not even your normal. Imagine not having square plates.
Oh my! Well, I would have brought them with me. I'm a fucking soldier, but yes.
Supplies, son.
Yeah, hello. I didn't know they had. I bring them to restaurants. I'm like, no, I've got my own, thanks. I slide it off.
Yeah.
That's why you don't see me taking pictures for the gram at restaurants anymore. I'm like, these fuckers. No, but seriously, like the amount of things they threw off with that. I mean, I'm not going to say it would have changed the outcome, but it would have changed his outcome for sure.
Right.
I would have beaten Kai if he stayed his ass in New York where he belonged and then showed up right on time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which maybe that's the issue, though. I hung out with Kai this weekend, and on time is tricky with him. So
I've heard that.
Dude, we were doing, I have to tell this story, which is way off the charts, but there's like a world champion arm wrestler there, I think with Redcon. So we did a spoof where we all pretended to arm wrestle him. And I literally told the guy right away, like, I will not resist. So when you're ready to push, and I'm going to, like, you're not going to break my arm today. And I know I'm not beating you at arm wrestling.
It wasn't Devin Larrett, was it?
Big ass beard. I don't know what his name is.
Okay.
But anyways, so they come over and they say, hey, you guys mind doing this? I was like, sure, that'll be fun. So we go line up. And then Rudy, Rudy that runs a lot of Redcon stuff. He's like, well, Kai's changing right now. And the whole idea was to bring Kai in at the end to kind of put on a little extra show. As soon as he said Kai was training or changing, I said, all right, I'm going to go back to my booth. Come get me when he's ready.
Yeah.
So 20 minutes later, they come get me to go back again. Because that's how he is. Like, it just baffles me. And I mean, love the guy, but like, if I know that literally a line of people that are taking pictures and video of this are waiting for me, I can change a shirt in like 0.2 seconds and be back. Right? I don't know what he was wearing before, because what he was wearing during was a hoodie and some pants. I don't know what was different.
It's all I ever see him in, hoodie and some pants.
It was so funny. I mean, when he finally came out, I was like, that's what we waited for. All right. Different. Usually when I go out with a girl and there's a long wait, it's worth the wait. I know what happened while she was up there. But anywho. So yes, maybe that's why they got there a month early, was just to make sure Kai would be on time.
That's very true. I remember Rob and Dana Lynn Bailey telling me about going to the gym with Kai on the body power trip.
Uh-huh.
Because they're like, oh, what'd you guys do last night? And I was like, oh, me and Dusty went to Dino's with a couple of the mutant crew, and we smashed a workout at Dino's, and then we came back to the hotel and just ate in the restaurant, and had a laugh, and maybe went for a little walk, and they're like, oh yeah, and we didn't get back to the hotel till 2 a.m. I'm like, what were you guys doing? And they're like, oh, we're at the gym with Kai. And I'm like, oh, like, what does that mean? And they're like, well, he takes an hour to go to the gym, and then he takes an hour to warm up and stretch, and then he trains for 2 hours, and then he takes an hour to do cardio and stretch and pose and talk to fans, and then we get back to the hotel, and then we go eat, and then we get back to the hotel at 2.
Yep. Good God.
And I'm just like, oh, fuck. Yeah, they're like when Kai goes to the gym, there is no, like, at that point in his career, because he was still competing, like, there's no rush to anything. Like, he's 3 hours at the gym normally. Well, it's 3 hours at the gym at 11 o'clock at night on an expo too.
Wow. Yeah, following an 11-hour day.
Yeah, just obsessive. Like, all the same amount of stretching and all the same amount of all the stuff that he would normally do. The broomstick warm-ups for 45 minutes and all that stuff. Never stopped. Yep. So pretty funny.
I did have another Patreon question, actually. I did have one from Ted.
Shoot. Oh, okay.
What is the greatest single episode of television you have ever seen? And he says his pick is... I
saw this question.
His pick is the Rick James episode of The Chappelle Show.
That's a great...
With Charlie Murphy telling the Rick James story. True Hollywood Stories.
That was good.
That was a fantastic episode. I saw that question on the YouTube. So the Rick James, Charlie Murphy episode of the Chappelle Show is the greatest episode of the Chappelle Show, but for sure.
Yeah.
By far. And it might be the funniest episode of any sketch comedy series of all time, for sure. I wouldn't mind saying that. So if you're talking about anything in that genre, best episode of all time. So it's a great pick.
Right. God.
That's tough. And didn't someone else name like a Seinfeld episode, a specific Seinfeld episode?
Like, there's some Seinfeld episodes that are on the
there's a
my
bunch. There's a few. Same with Curb Your Enthusiasm, like the Palestinian chicken episode. Anyone who watches Curb, I think it's like season 6. There's an episode called Palestinian Chicken. It is fucking nuts. It's so fucking hilarious. Then there's like the house that porn built. I think it's called Porno Gill. That episode. It's like season 1 or 2. It's really early Curb, but the one where they go over to his buddy's house and his buddy used to be in porn, and they're all having dinner, and his buddy's telling all these inappropriate stories about when he used to shoot porn, and everyone's just so fucking hilarious.
God,
there's some great episodes. Then there's one of my favorite series of all time is Battlestar Galactica.
I never saw that. I heard that was so good.
It was so good. And there's an episode called Blood on the Decks. And it's a 2-part episode. And the second part of the episode is called Blood on the Decks. And it's like a mutiny arc. So it's 2 episodes where there's like a mutiny on the ship. And like half the crew turns on the other half of the crew. And it's like a real tense situation. And the Blood on the Decks episode, it just gets nasty. Is fucking right down to executions. It is a rough episode. And some of these characters have been good guys for the whole show, and all of a sudden now their mutiny is happening. So it's like characters that you used to think were good guys, but now they're like head to head, and like someone's got to go. And it's an intense episode. I just remember watching Battlestar Galactica, and after it was over, I was like, I think it was the final season, that episode's in the final season too, and it like peaked. It was intense. Like, yeah, it was just one of those like white knuckle episodes if you were a fan. There's a bunch of like things, for someone who really watched a lot of TV.
I was gonna say, I try to think of things that I would show people
down
the line. Hard. So if you're, because I can't say that I personally would consider this like the best thing I've seen, but I can tell you I've shown more people the Will Ferrell cowbell routine from Saturday Night Live more than anything I've ever shown someone.
Yeah, that's
good.
That's an amazing skit. That's like peak 2000s SNL.
Yeah, I mean,
or is it 90s? That might even be 90s.
Yeah, I don't even know, but I mean, I've probably if I hear someone hasn't seen that, I grab YouTube right then and there, pull it up, and I'm like, here, and then watch, and I watch that with them as if I've never seen it.
Yeah,
because it's good SNL when the other actors can't hold it together.
Yeah. And it's Will Ferrell being a genius too. Will Ferrell is like peak, about to get massive in that, like, because he's still on the cast. People forget Will Ferrell was SNL because he's such a huge star, but he was just a cast member, and he's like peak genius. Plus, Christopher Walken is the host, so he's the record producer. So awesome. Yeah. Anyway, that's a great one. There was another question there. It was, what TV show would you watch if you could watch it again for the first time?
Yeah, Morgan had that question.
Yeah, Big Morgan Mac. He said, if you could rewatch a TV show but have it feel like you're watching it for the first time, what would it be?
This is tough. Because there's a lot that I put in a pretty high regard, but I really thought that Dexter was genius.
It was a great show.
So I think I would probably go with that, just because anybody who can create a show where I'm rooting for the serial killer, and I'm telling myself that he's just a good guy.
Just misunderstood.
Doing what needs to, just doing what needs to be done.
Well, he was saving the taxpayers' money.
Yeah.
I mean, literally though, like if you think about it, because like the first time I watched that show, I realized like the first episode, I'm like,
it's going to be weird.
Fucked. But then also the writing of that, because what I enjoyed. So one thing I hate about the shows that have like a season is the whole thing is when a show feels like a filler.
Yeah.
In between episodes, I'm like, oh, so I didn't really need that episode. That show, what they made sure to do was there was a beginning and ending that mattered for every episode that also played along with the season long.
Yeah, there was a subplot.
Yeah,
a subplot for each one.
So it mattered, because like, for example, when with Yellowstone this season, I literally felt like I watched 4 episodes that didn't matter at all. Like, had I missed them, it wouldn't have mattered. I missed nothing.
Yeah,
right. It's like idling. The engine was just idling for an episode. That actually happened in Battlestar Galactica in season 2. There was a writer's strike.
Oh shit! So it really wasn't idle.
And so they had to use. There was like 3 episodes in a row. I still remember them. They were pointless and useless, and they kind of went down story paths that never got revisited and never ever got brought up again. It was like once the writer's strike was over and they went back to the scripts that were like written by the writers, it's like they just pretended those 3 episodes didn't happen. They were really, really stupid.
Anybody who hasn't left us, hopefully they'll just be happy that we're back. All right,
I don't know if there's.
Cause
I guess they can't use.
Expert
I guess they can't use the scripts that were written by the writers. They'd have to use backup scripts, or they're making them up. The fucking directors are writing them. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, they had a week to knock that shit out.
Yeah.
So, but I need your guys' votes because this is a big one.
Well, I think if I could watch one show again, watching it for the first time, it would be, and I'm only talking about the first 4 seasons. First 4 seasons of 24.
Oh, great show.
You guys remember 24?
Yes.
I didn't see it.
Yes. Oh my God, so good.
I heard the first season just like blew my mind. It was such an interesting concept. It had never been done before. There's never been a show like it. The whole concept is the entire season is 24 episodes. Each season is 24 episodes. They're all 1 hour long and they're real time. So the whole season is 1 day.
Yeah.
So the season starts like 2 a.m. Episode 1 is 2 a.m. They're all named by their times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So episode 1 is 2 a.m. and you see like a terrorist plant a bomb. And then episode 2 is 3 a.m. and you see like something gets triggered to uncover the trigger the FBI. Right. And then episode 3 is 4 p.m. or whatever. And now the FBI is like, and it's like they have 1 day. Like this bomb's going off in less than 24 hours. So now they have like, so it's just every hour is tense. And like, I guess the continuity experts were super careful. They had to cut everybody's hair and keep their beards exactly the same length because it's just 1 day, right?
Yeah, you can't all of a sudden have like overhanging hair.
Yeah. So it was just a really interesting show, and they did a great job at it. And the first 4 seasons were just, and they really made it hard to watch too. Like the main character was Kiefer Sutherland, right? Yeah, so he's Jack Bauer, and Jack Bauer is a fucked up motherfucker. He's got some problems. He's the good guy, but he's got some problems. I remember the scene where he, you're not supposed to torture people, right? Good guys don't torture people, do they?
Right.
Unless. But he needs answers, and we're dealing with like a nuclear bomb, and we're dealing with terrorists, and we don't have time. So he's got the cigar clipper out, and he's taking off fucking fingers. Start talking, buddy. Start fucking talking. Yep. And I remember one scene, he ties a guy to a chair, pulls a lamp, yanks the cords out of it, and just starts electrocuting him. Fucking talk. Zap, 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 zap. Come on, where the fuck is it? And he's like gonna kill him, right? There's all sorts of awesome shit. He just goes way overboard in that show. And it really blurred the lines between good guy and bad guy. And it really raised a lot of like moral questions about, are you willing to torture someone to get the answer to like a potential nuclear threat or a germ warfare or a mass killing of some kind? Like, I know we're not allowed to torture, but are there ever exceptions, right? Like there's all these questions. And this was all happening, I think the first season was in 2001.
Huh.
Right.
So this is like 9/11 era.
Yeah.
So there was all these moral dilemmas coming up. Each season was dealing with all these questions about how far can the government go to keep you safe?
Yeah.
Wink, wink.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's a scary line right there.
Right? Like what is...
Especially now.
you know, and the absolutely unbelievable positions that some of them are put in. Like, you're dealing with like the head of like these government agencies, and you know, I like to get down on the government myself, but at the same time, some of these people are saving like millions of people with some of these decisions. They're dealing
Imagine
with
that moral dilemma going home at the end of the night, like, especially if it didn't work, if you didn't get what you're looking for, and you've done all
backfired, or you just made it worse.
You can't go back on the sorry about the whole lamp routine. My bad.
Yeah. It was kind of like, and it was really dark too. Like, there's one episode, it's season 3, and there's one episode, and they're dealing with a bioweapon. So there's like millions of people are going to get killed with a bioweapon, and they're trying to figure it out. And it's like, you know, the terrorists are like making demands, and they're trying to buy time. So they're doing the demands because they're trying to buy time. And the one demand is that Jack takes his boss, like the head of the counter-terrorist unit, flies him in a helicopter out to this train yard and shoots him in the back of the fucking head. And if he doesn't do it, so Jack takes his boss out to the train yard, and you're like, there's something's going to happen.
He's not going to do it. Yeah.
He's not going to, something's going to intervene. There's going to be something happen. And his boss is just like, oh my God. Like he goes along with it because he doesn't know. And they get to the moment of truth, and he fucking shoots him.
You're kidding.
In the back of the head. He executes his boss, and a van pulls up, and these guys in masks get out and grab the body and throw it in and drive away. And then normally how every episode would end, it would go back to the countdown. Tick, 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 and the episode would end. And it would intense. Go beep, beep, beep. But that one, it ticked down silently.
Huh.
Yeah.
They took the beep out and just made it so dark.
Yeah.
I just remember watching that episode. I was like, he just shot his fucking boss in the head. That was dark.
Yeah.
Like, that show pushed it. That was like, there's never going to be any revolutionary network television ever again.
That's funny that you said that, because we talk about that on everything now. Movies, TV, sporting events, because I feel like now we're either remaking things that have already been done, or like, for example, like Dennis Rodman and what he did. Well, now when you see a NBA player covered in tattoos, you're like, hey, John, like,
yeah.
It doesn't fucking matter. Or, you know, Nirvana created a genre essentially. You know what I mean? Like, so now anything I see, it's kind of like, I've seen this movie before. You know, right. Like we just had a conversation about this on Saturday, thinking about all the things that have been done, whether it's in music, TV, movies, that now it's just been done. You know what I mean? Like there's never going to be a Johnny Cash again.
Yeah. And the fact that network TV is going to be completely dead soon.
Yeah.
So all the power and oversight and decision making and the advertising revenue and all those decisions being influenced, and you can't swear on TV, like how it, all that stuff's it's dead, So shows like that had to challenge all those things, that'll never happen again, because those things are all on streaming services now and the internet, and
there are no rules.
yeah, you know what I mean. So,
I saw there's two things I wanted to mention. Number one, I saw that Ozark is coming back out, so I'm pumped for that, the next section of Ozark. And number two, this isn't the best thing I've ever seen in TV in my life, but it warmed my heart. There's these documentaries, like true crime documentaries, and we watched one about Ted Bundy, and they have all this amazing footage of like 1970s New York City. And I love that shit, first of all, where you get to just see like what the cars look like going down the street, and like guys in the police station just smoking cigarettes. And it's just like life was so different then. And it warmed my heart when they caught Bundy. There's this big press conference, and the police chief is standing there, and they've got all these guys with the cameras, and they're all, bumping into each other. And some reporter said something really shitty to the chief, something about like how they didn't do a good job, or like how they should have gotten him sooner. And the chief's response was, you know what? Fuck you, you son of a bitch. Like, you imagine, he was like, and he just went off on him. He's like, fuck you, you son of a bitch. You think you could do a better job? And I was just thinking to myself, imagine if we saw that on the news today. Like there would be this like, no, oh my God, now we gotta fire the police chief and he's gonna have to make a public apology. And he was just like, he was ready to just like punch the dude in the face. And I was like, you know what? I feel like we need a little more of that in our lives today.
We need a little more. We need a little more Mike Tyson on the plane.
Exactly. How great did that quote come full circle? About
how many years ago? How many years ago did Mike say that?
Dude, it was the beginning of social media. Ago? Yeah, 5-6 years ago. Yeah, I mean, wild. So that coming back up is the memes were just everywhere, and I'm like, did that guy not see that? Is he the only guy that didn't see that?
Yeah. So what was the full? Did you guys watch all those clips?
I didn't catch it. No.
The kid was just hounding him on the plane, and didn't Mike even give him something to like get him to leave him alone? Like
he did like a selfie or something with him before.
Yeah, he's like trying to get him to leave him alone or something like that, and he just
people that were on the plane said that it was like that Mike could not have possibly handled it better the entire time, and I think they were including the part where he turned around and beat the shit out of him. They were counting that as couldn't have handled it better.
It doesn't seem like there's any charges or no one's being sued or anything, is there?
If the kid's got a brain in his head, he leaves it the fuck alone and says,
it's like everyone was like, just sit down.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
But he punched me. Just sit down.
You're lucky. That's all it was. I'm stunned that the airplane and nothing stopped, like intervened before. Surprised.
Yeah, no air marshal or anybody. Like it's supposed to be an air marshal on all those flights, isn't there?
Yeah. Okay, here's the thing. Here's the thing. I've learned about this. So if there's something, so the air marshal isn't supposed to get up unless there's something that's going to like a terrorist, that people can do stuff like that as a diversion so they can figure out who the air marshal is.
Yeah. So he's not supposed to reveal his identity unless the flight is actually in danger.
Unless there's something like really, like 24.
Like it's time to pull his gun out and shoot somebody.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
That's wild. Yeah, because I mean that makes sense, but it's at the same time it's fascinating. Here's the only thing that I think in these cases in general that bothers me, and not with Mike Tyson necessarily, but that there's so many people watching something wrong, filming what is wrong, and no one doesn't just like, it could be just a nice gentleman in 24C that walks up and just goes, "You're going to move now." Just guide you away.
I mean, I think I would have done something. I think
for sure.
Like if I was sitting in that area of the plane, I would have stood up. I would have walked. Like I know I would have. I would have been like, dude, you're going to have to stop.
Yeah.
Like we all want you to stop, because the last thing any of us on this flight want is for Mike Tyson to beat the fucking shit out of you on this plane and us have to turn around and go back to fucking wherever the fuck we just left. Like that would be a concern of mine, right? Is that the plane's going to turn around or make an emergency landing somewhere because there's a half dead kid.
Yeah.
Now my day's interrupted. I would have been thinking like,
yeah, we're going to get steak as soon as I land. You fuck up my dinner, kid.
Yeah, Dusty's picking me up from the fucking airport, and we're getting there. That's a hard thing to say. Hey, Dusty, I'm not going to be there. Mike Tyson beat somebody up on my flight.
God, tell me you got video. Tell me you got video.
we had to pull an emergency landing in Utah or whatever. Yeah.
Oh shit.
But yeah, that restored my like. It made me realize. I saw that. And by the way, too, like when he did that, like nobody like thought twice about it. Like it was like the standard response. Like, and that's what we should be afraid of in life. That maybe if you lip off, that the police chief might just deck you.
This is funny, but I have to share this because so my dad had a secretary when I was a kid that was my mother's friend. So she would come over and just chat and whatever. And so he had to let a guy go at one of the plants. And so my dad came home. He doesn't say anything the night before. And then the next night there's Donna comes over and she's like, "Julie, did Bill tell you what happened yesterday?" And my mom's like, "No." Well, he had to fire this guy. So this guy comes into his office and he's, I got to let you go, whatever. And the guy's like, "Well, just so you know, when you get out of this freaking place, I'm going to be in the parking lot waiting to kick your ass, this and that." and he's yelling, and the door's open, obviously, because they try to keep it whatever. And all of a sudden she goes, I look over and Bill's standing at the door, and he goes, well, let's just do it now. And he's like, let's go. And the guy's just sitting in the chair like, what am I supposed to do now? I've just called my boss out, not thinking he's going to be like, well, let's fight you right now then. And he just walks out to the parking lot and he goes, so now I'm sitting in the office with this guy who doesn't want to leave the office now for like 5 minutes straight. She goes, so finally Bill comes in and goes, are you ready to leave now? And the guy goes, yes. And then just walked out by himself. God. And I was like, leave it to him to not even tell that story. He just comes home. And my mom goes, why didn't you tell me that? He goes, well, nothing happened. And I was like, it's actually true. Nothing did happen.
You got a point. Nothing happened.
There's not a story to tell. I was like,
nobody wants to tell that lame story of like, yeah, so I like
what
almost got in a fight.
Yeah. So that's what I think is great though, because I was like, and back then also, like, you would be sued for even suggesting that now.
Yeah.
That would become this whole thing that your boss would be, nothing ever comes of it. Nothing happened.
My boss tried to fight me.
Yeah. I'm like, I want to move back to that era. Didn't you ask him
to fight you?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Wasn't it your idea? Yeah. He just said, sure. Didn't want to wait till 5 o'clock because he was meeting Ron for dinner.
Well, it's funny. I believe the law in Canada is that you can consent to violence.
That's fantastic.
But you can't consent to injury.
Huh?
So 2 guys can fight in the parking lot, and it's not technically a crime unless the one guy gets knocked out and they call an ambulance. Now it's assault.
That's the same. They have it's so technically here, self-defense is equal or lesser force. And I'm like, well, equal isn't enough, and lesser sure isn't enough.
Yeah,
right.
I'm gonna need at least a little bit more to be
right.
legit.
I need equal plus enough to I know
to end the situation. So it doesn't mean you're going to get charged. Obviously, I mean, I know a lot of people that have been there, but it leaves a gray area where you can get in trouble for someone attacking you and you ending it. Like, it's wild.
All the stuff when you're self-protection that I've been studying. If you do ever have to shoot somebody, that they say like you need like $50,000 a fund put away. That they tell you that they're like, if you carry a gun, you should have 50 grand just put away in case you need a lawyer, because in case you shoot somebody, because you're gonna need a lawyer, you're gonna get sued no matter what the situation is. Like, you're gonna go to jail. It's gonna be a big deal, and you're in trouble.
What a mess! What a mess!
Yeah. Jesus. I always tell people, when you've got the back of their head and you're ramming it into the bricks, like twice tops. 3 times.
Don't actually open their mouth up on the curb. That's where you've gone too far.
You gotta be very careful. That's why, back in the day when you work in the door, back in the 90s, a little open hand.
They used to tell us, nothing in the face, it leaves marks.
Right. Well, the open hand slap was a good one, because if you knock a guy out with a slap, he's usually too embarrassed to say anything.
Which is very true. Very true. I told you that reminds me. Jose said that when he was a kid. He did that at school one time. He open hand slapped a kid. And if you've ever seen Jose's hands, they look like bricks. But he goes, the kid's head hit the wall. And then it was a big mess. And Jose goes, man, when I was a kid, I'd just be doing dumb kid shit and man shit would happen. That's just like, that's the greatest quote of all time. Like,
whoops.
Again, man shit. Fuck.
Yeah. No. You got to be careful. I'm really, there's nothing more stressful than that those moments right after something violent has happened. Do you know what I mean? Like, I just remember back in the day, like, there'd be a big fight and you'd have to get in and throw guys out, and there's chaos everywhere, and there's this like stressful moment after where you're like, fuck, I hope no one's hurt, because like I don't want my I don't want to get sued, I don't want the bar to get sued, I don't want the fuck things. You know what I mean? It was always there's always that just chaotic sort of like, what's going to come of this after every incident.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that was back in the 90s too. Like, nowadays, I can't imagine.
You would already know you're getting sued and you're fucked.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you're already fired. But I just broke up a fight. Yeah, you used. Yeah, it was. Too
we have
rough.
to eliminate you to increase or decrease our odds of how bad.
It's almost like they have to fire the whole staff every time they break up a fight just to clean the slate.
It's probably true now. Classic.
Okay, let's get another question going.
All right, I have a training question here. Do you fellas have any advice on how the brachialis works and how to train it? I've seen none. No, excuse me. I don't even know what he's. Let's just say
brachialis.
We'll just stop there.
Are my favorite. So, grabbing an easy bar, reverse grip, but then making sure at the top. Let's see if I get my hand in here at the top of the movement when you come up. Oh, I gotta go this way. Try it. Bring that wrist back. So at the top of every curl, literally roll that wrist back is my absolute favorite way to hit the brachialis. And then, of course, hammer curls. Hit it as well.
Awesome. Reverse barbell curls are awesome. They're devastating on the brachioradialis, especially, which is the part that's on the forearm. You know, like this muscle here that's on the forearm. The reverse curls will hit that a lot. Yep. Hammer curls will hit, both the brachialis and the brachioradialis. But yeah, they're awesome. And reverse easy bar curls are an underrated, sort of forgotten old school movement that I don't see a lot of people doing anymore. But I've started doing them again recently. Actually, that's funny that you brought those up.
Did you do them high rep?
Yeah, I don't go heavy on them. I grab like a 60 and I'll do like 20s, like sets of 20 squeezing. Yeah, they're great.
Let me ask you a follow-up then, Ron, because I know you said that arms were kind of like your nemesis through your whole career. What were the things that you found were the best for your arm growth?
Synthol.
Super good form. Super good form. Lots of synthol.
Or any oil for that matter that would fit in the arm.
Yeah. No. I seen so many guys ruin shit shooting it. It's terrible. Just form, full range of motion and form.
I'm posting videos today, which now will be after the fact. But my top set of seated dumbbell curls were 40s.
Okay,
and, I use 40s as well.
And I don't need to go above that. And I did a set with a 30 and a set of 35 first. And it's just like Ron said, I try to make sure I found, and this could be completely wrong, but I've noticed a lot of guys with really good shoulders, if they're not genetically gifted, have weaker biceps, which was always my issue because the shoulders are getting involved on the curls. So I've not really realized late in my career, way too late, that I had to lighten it up a ton and just say to myself, am I feeling the bicep the entire time? Does anything else come into play? If it does, fuck.
I think a lot of people make the mistake on biceps of their arm doesn't move in a straight line.
Agreed.
So like their elbow will turn out as they curl up and then they'll sort of come back around. You know what I mean? Or if they're on a preacher curl machine, they'll like torque, like it's not moving straight. It's not, everything should be in a straight line. I don't know if I can even like demonstrate this, but everything should be like in a straight line. Like the shoulder, the elbow, the wrist should all be in like a straight line for biceps. You shouldn't be doing like this on the preacher machine, like turning in like this, almost like you're arm wrestling it. It should be all straight line like this. And also too, I completely agree with all the stuff they're saying about how fixed hand positions probably aren't the best way to train triceps, with the way the elbow rotates as you come down and the way the shoulder works with the elbow. Like, fixed bar behind the head stuff is probably not as great for your joints as a single arm movement where you can line everything up properly. I understand we've all had a lot of fun. Dusty's the king of the barbell skull crusher. I've done I used to pin a plate to the stack and put 100-pound dumbbell on my foot so I could do press downs. Like, you know,
I dumbbell on his foot so he wouldn't lift off the ground, Scott.
Yeah, I hook it with my foot and fucking do heavy press downs.
I saw Scott's face like, what does that mean?
Yeah, you know, so, but I just think, you know, they're like, if you watch a lot of Joe Bennett, like hypertrophy coach, talks about lining up the joints for tricep work.
Yeah.
And that's why, you know, that's why I'm such a fan of cables for triceps now. With some of my joint pain, I realize on cables I can line everything up in straight lines and
that
everything just moves. There's none of that like turning of the, you know, there's none of that going on of the elbow while you're extending, right? You can just move in like a perfectly straight line.
Yeah.
And
I never thought about that before. And I just was talking to a guy yesterday that I work with who he was saying skull crushers with a cambered bar hurt his elbows. And I was explaining to him how I've always gotten that too. But if I use dumbbells, it doesn't. And it makes sense because with the dumbbells, you can keep those, they keep that line straight. That makes
and sense. You don't have that torque on the joints.
Yeah.
So
I think you should also look with those. It's funny you guys said that, but like you said, Ron, like I can do a 225 skull crusher with a barbell, but I can do a decline dumbbell skull crusher with 50s and get annihilated. Just the tricep. And I don't think you're going to see anyone complain about elbow problems from that. And I mean, I'm telling you, the pump, like I was doing sets of 10 today and I was smoked. And
that would be a great, I get what you mean about a slight decline. I get what you mean. Because you get
more stretch there.
I do that too.
Elbow is straight up in the air. And I'm telling you, like, I don't foresee a 55 in my future anytime soon.
You won't need it. Yeah.
You know, it's brutal. So something to think about. I think sometimes, as much as I'm a proponent of watching guys who have muscles you want and saying that might work, I think sometimes we get away with murder because it's just a muscle that would grow for us. You know,
or you just put.
I would never say to somebody, "Yeah, do my tricep training." I've gotten so many people's triceps blown out doing this. You know, I'm like, I could probably collect more surgeons' financial situations, getting a bunch of people doing skull crushers with 225.
You get a few. Yeah. Okay. Hey, I got to take a quick piss.
Cool.
Intermission.
We have Ron has lasted a long time here. He gets no flack for this one. None.
No.
So Scott, I have to tell you this real quick because it's funny, and you might have even noticed. So when we started, I was baked out of my head, and I was falling asleep.
Were you really?
Literally, I was like, I had to drop my head so I could close my eyes for a second.
You had the hat, so you could.
So I kept doing. If you watch episodes, you're gonna see me doing this.
Yeah,
because my eyes were like blurry.
Yeah.
I was like, fuck. And then at one point, right before I kind of came to life, I kind of drifted off and I went like this.
Yeah,
and then I was ready. And then I had the rest of the podcast. I was on fire.
You were fresh. You were ready to go.
You gotta watch it. I was like, dude, this is. I'm literally. I sent. I don't know if you noticed, but I sent Nikki to the store to get me a Monster during the show.
You're kidding me. And she went?
I texted her and she went and got a Monster, and you'll see it comes in. And I'm like,
that's a keeper right there.
I need a Monster now. I'm fucked.
Oh God, that's the behind the scenes stuff. Exactly. But we can keep this in, right? We're keeping this in.
Leave it. Why not?
We got to keep it in. Yeah.
Oh, it was fucking gold. I'm like, wow, I am wrecked right now.
We've had a few episodes where people are like, Ron's really stoned for this episode.
Dude, so if you watch, when you're watching the edit, you're going to see a lot of this for like 10 seconds. And then I come back up and I try again.
It's like, no, you're not
come
bored.
on, Dust. You can do this. I promise, Roman, I am interested. I'm just really fucking wrecked.
Dusty's really bored at the Roman Fritz interview for some reason.
Do they not like each other? He just keeps looking down. Oh, good stuff.
Fuck.
Nothing.
Can't do two shows. Can't do two shows.
This is a long second show though, so it's cool. It works.
We had another YouTube one here, and I think this is geared toward Dusty. Favorite Canadian thrash or metal band? That had to be to you, Dusty.
I was gonna say it took me a second to register that was pure sarcasm. I'm like, So what's the answer there, Dusty? That's not Dusty.
I don't know much about Canadian thrash or metal.
What?
Yeah. Well, yeah, I just
now watch. He's about to tell the entire history of it. So
right.
No.
I don't know much, but in '67,
I think if I'm just trying to think who is even Canadian, I think Helix was Canadian. Wasn't Helix Canadian? I gotta go.
Don't ask us. We don't fucking know.
Helix. I don't even know Helix.
It was a rock band. It was like a glam metal band. Yeah, they are. They're a glam metal band. Yeah, they were big in like the 80s.
Dusty left.
Dusty left. He doesn't know anything. He couldn't contribute to the Canadian thrash metal scene.
Here he is. He's back.
People think I'm into metal, but I'm not really into metal. I'm into like some metal, mostly classic older metal.
There we go.
Like I like Maiden and Judas Priest and Metallica and shit. But I don't really know the new metal. Like I even was driving with my Sirius satellite radio on the other day, and I put it on Octane, I think, which is all like new metal.
Okay.
And I didn't know any of the fucking bands. Like, and it just sounds so like, I don't know how to put it. That new metal sound is just different. It's not the same as the old metal sound. They're amazing, but I don't know who any of them were, you know. I know Gojira. I know they're like a huge metal band right now, and they're awesome, but I'm just not really into that music.
Yeah. I never heard of Gojira. Dusty?
I'm just happy that there was a question that Ron didn't like have any information on. I didn't know that those existed.
If we had t-shirts,
you know how Scott, you know how there's people, you know, Scott, how people, like they think they know something about everything. Mm-hmm. Ron really knows so much shit about so many things that I'm always like, what, how? And Ron's only like a couple years older than me, and the amount of information in his head is like 1,000 times more than me. It's painful for my like ego. Not that I ever thought I was super smart, but goddamn, you're killing me.
So I had to look it up. I didn't know Slaughter was Canadian. Slaughter was a good band.
Okay, there you go. Yeah,
that was a good one. I didn't know Slaughter was Canadian. And Voivod is also Canadian. I didn't know that. So there you go. I learned something. But the important thing, Dusty, is when you don't know, you have to say, I don't know.
Now he knows if this ever comes up in 77 years from now, when someone asks Ron, he'll be like, well,
Slaughter and Voivod are Canadian, which I didn't know. But I learned it on episode 135 or 136 of It's Just Bodybuilding. Yeah, there you go. That's fun.
Classic. We got any more solid good ones here?
I think someone is referencing, this goes way back. Wow, this goes way back in a Q&A Dusty did on Intense Muscle in 2009. Like I said, way back. Okay. He says,
all right, here we go.
And he actually says, I didn't see this one. He says, I posted this question a couple days back. On a 2-week-old video. Silly me. Anyway, it'd be cool if you guys could get to this on the next show. He says, a really interesting strategy utilized by Dante to help his guys grow in the offseason was eating instinctively. Dante touches on this. Oh, it was a post he made. Dusty touches on this in a post he made on Intense Muscle Q&A back in 2009, saying, due to training with Dante and his teachings, I now eat based on what my body tells me to eat as far as amounts. I don't weigh out my foods, and the calories vary from day to day based on calories burned. It would be cool if you could ask Dusty to go into more detail regarding this and how it, alongside DC training, allowed him to transform his physique. Cheers. And that's from Iron Warrior. He's a good listener. He's had a lot of good feedback for us.
Well, here's the tricky thing is absolute fact. But I guess I'll use the word caveat to that is you have to recognize that there's a certain amount of food you have to get down. You know what I'm saying? Like, because for example, I'm not a huge eater. So if I literally only ate because I was hungry, that would be an issue. But what it did allow me to do is activity determined how many calories I needed to consume. You're a lot more hungry, for example, after a back day or a leg day than you are an arm day. So that helped me not get as fat as I used to get. just following a basic, holy shit, we got to eat a ton of food diet. Because what that used to be for me was training days through the roof, off days a little less. And obviously an arm training day versus a leg training day, significantly different on calories out, also significantly different on how many calories I wanted to consume. I also trained earlier in the day back then, so it really did. I trained first thing in the morning. So it was very easy for that training day to determine how much food to eat. You know what I'm saying? So it is a little bit tricky. For example, any of my clients that are listening know this is not ever happening. We're not doing it. You're going to eat what I tell you to eat. Because most of them, and you got two sides of this, guys, is the guys who don't eat much like me won't eat enough. And I've got guys that can eat. It doesn't matter how much food I give them. They're like, I'm hungry. I'm like, how? How are you fucking hungry? It doesn't even make sense to me. You know, and they're gaining weight and muscle. So I can't just say, oh, well, eat more. Like, you'll get fat, you know? So he's right. And that's one of those things. If I could go back and erase that post, I probably would, just because of the fact that it's very difficult to do. And Dante had a ton of, like, we worked together on how much I could eat based on what I felt. Yeah. So it sounds like, listening to that back, I'm like, wow, I should have written that a lot better, because it sounds like I was just like, I don't really feel like eating right now. So I didn't, you know what I mean? Like, or a lot.
Still got huge.
I had the amount of food that I needed to eat. And if I could eat more, I would. And that's really what it was, is I had almost like a minimum requirement. And on days that I was more hungry, I would just add food to it.
Yeah.
So hope that helps, dude. And please tell me where that is exactly so I can delete the post.
Oh, we had a female listener, so I got to throw this in here. This is Kate.
Oh,
Kat.
Okay.
Sorry, Kat. She says,
Kat.
So she's number 38, I believe.
We had a 39 that I met in Utah this weekend. Go ahead.
Okay. She says, I thought I was the only girl listening. She said she listens while doing her morning cardio. I have a question. How do you get rid of water retention on ladies' legs? Mine is so bad. Scott may want to look on my Instagram photos, as we are friends there. I'm on HRT currently, lowering my estrogen dose to help. 6 weeks out Saturday. What's your go-to supplements, exercises, PEDs, diet? Many thanks, guys. Love the show.
Oh, that's really hard to answer, because water retention, I mean, it could be triggered by so many different things. I mean, the best answer I could give that I'd be comfortable with, you know, it would just be, you know, your water and sodium intake have to be high enough that your body isn't hormonally holding on to either one of those. So you need to have your sodium and water intake high enough that your aldosterone level is very low. So, you know, sea salt and a lot of drinking. But I mean, aside from that, your kidneys should be able to handle all that stuff, and holding water is usually from not being hydrated or electrolyted properly, or eating like garbage junk food. But obviously if you're like prepping, then that's not going to happen. So yeah, it could be from a few things, but I mean, that would sort of, to me, wander into the medical realm. I don't know. It's hard to say.
I was going to say, Ron, you nailed everything on water that I would add. Next thing is blood work. When someone brings up, you know, altering estradiol levels, I'm always like, make sure that that's an answer you need to be looking at. And then the last one, and I'm going to hope that I'm wrong, but I have to say it since we're blind, a lot of times people that are trying to lose water in their legs are mistaking fat for water.
Yeah.
So you may be just someone, a lot of women, I hate to speak like that, but in general, a lot of women lose from the top down. So being lean in your abs and up top, and then still feeling like you got it miles away in the lower body is relatively normal.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And pretty common.
I couldn't find her. I was looking for her pictures on Instagram, but I couldn't find her.
So we didn't really help much, but best we could do. But I think
No,
what
that
Ron
was
said,
that
if it
was
is
a tough
water,
one.
Ron nailed it on the things I would just shoot through the roof.
Okay.
For sure.
Okay. We got one more we want to round up with?
Sure.
There, I can't find it. There was like this crazy sex one if you were both a male and a female, and I don't know. I
don't go to high school. We're not doing that.
I don't know where that one is.
That's so sad for me.
I scrolled up and down.
Where was this when
times.
we had? Where was this when we had Roman on the show?
Yeah, we could have just directed straight to him. Roman, a fan wants to know just what you would do.
I think that was everything I had here. But besides that,
was it one of those? Would you suck your own dick questions?
It was something like who would get pregnant, or I don't know.
Oh, that's amazing.
Oh man. Okay. Well, thanks to that's as good as finishing on a question. Thanks again, guys. Episode 136 of It's Just Bodybuilding. Remember to like, share, subscribe, comment, and
ring the bell.
Comment with questions for the next episode.
Yes,
comment with.
And they're doing good with that. That's awesome.
Like yeah. And we're liking this 2 shows a week format, and you guys seem to like it. We're getting a lot of positive feedback when we do it, so we hope we're helping you through cardio either way.
Exactly.
Okay. Remember, everybody, it's just bodybuilding.